Thank you, dear Nandini. I should confess that you really behaved well. The next presenter is again a top notch academician in the field of deaf blindness, Shampata Shevde. Shampata did her rigorous course on leadership from the Perkins School for the Blind in 1999, almost 25 years back, and has been working in the field for the past quarter century. Right? And she is overseeing all the programs of Perkins in India. Not only that, she worked with Sense International, and prior to that, she worked with the Helen Keller Institute for Blind and Deaf Children. And so today, not only in India, in this region, if you have to pick a few people who have great expertise in the field of deaf blindness, Shampata's name comes first. So, Shampata, the floor is yours. We are honored.
Good afternoon, everyone. That's a very meek good afternoon. Either we are very hungry or about to go in yoga nidra, both of which is dangerous. So, can I hear a resounding good afternoon? Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and equally an honor to share the dais with Dr. Francis Gentle, Nandini ma'am, and to have a chair like respected Dr. M.N.G. Mani. I think what more could a person in this field ask for? It's like getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. My job is slightly easy for two reasons. One, because Francis and Nandini ma'am have covered both parts, the academic and the philosophical, or what we need to aim for. And being the last speaker, the more I delay, the more delayed is your lunch. So I'll try to be to the point before time. The first slide is a tribute to two outstanding professionals. To the left is Beroz ma'am, Ms. Beroz Vacha from India. To the right is Dr. Barbara Maklaji from the US. And these two ladies, I think, have shaped my entire understanding of communication. And whatever I know about communication is thanks to these two inspirational ladies who I think lived what they said, that every child can communicate. And if not, it's something wrong with you. Think about what you are doing and offer a buffet of communication modes in the form of total communication and let the child choose. So I couldn't begin this session without a tribute to these two outstanding professionals. The most important philosophy which I feel in early communication is that one size does not fit all. So there's a shoe on the slide, probably an 8 or 9 number. I don't know how many people in the audience would be able to wear this shoe. Okay? Not many, I guess. And that's the same with early communication, because each child is different. So our approach differs for each and every child. Let us now meet Sakshi. Sakshi is a very young student. Before I play the video, I'll just share a little bit about Sakshi and describe what is in the video. When we first met Sakshi, she was a very young child, about 4 years old. We visited her at home, and the first thing that her parents said was that Sakshi can't see at all. She can hear a little bit. But their biggest area of concern was that she doesn't like to touch anything. It might be another person's hand, it might be an object. She just doesn't like to touch. Considering that she doesn't have any vision and very limited hearing, touch was the most important sense she could use for learning. We visited her several times at her home after we met her parents in an attempt of trying to get her to become familiar with us. We decided if not with touch, why not try with objects and see if in some way we manage to form a relationship with her. I had a signal to look that side once before I play the video. Thank you. Now, Sakshi has a ball with her, and there's a person who's trying to interact with her. Somebody she's not very familiar with. She tries to participate in the conversation by doing the activity of tapping on the ball. It's like a conversation without words, where she joins the other person and tries to continue the interaction. Unknowingly, she also tolerates a little bit of touch from the other person. And eventually, she doesn't even realize that she's starting to get comfortable with the unfamiliar person. Gradually, once we figured that she is more comfortable with objects, we thought, why not try and explore different objects and figure out what would she actually prefer. And here you see Sakshi with her teacher, and they both have some objects hidden in a bowl filled with grains, and she's trying to explore it. Looking at her facial expressions, do you think she's enjoying what she's doing? No, right? At least one person is awake. Absolutely not. She is not enjoying what she is doing. So we decided that we should explore some more, and we tried with water and tried to put objects in water and see how she reacts to it. Now, what do her facial expressions tell you? I'm also a little bit hard of hearing. So, she's enjoying the activity. She's very happy, right? And so is her teacher, because for the first time, the teacher realizes that now this is the time when I finally connected with Sakshi. And it's a beginning of forming a relationship. Francis spoke a lot about having a good bond and using the sense of touch for exploration. And this was the beginning of that bond. Eventually, Sakshi became bold enough and decided that she could also participate in a small community center in the village. In the beginning, the teacher and the mother was all she would interact with. But at the same time, at home, she started participating in a variety of activities which were a part of her routine. It could be playing with her siblings, playing with a few children staying next to her house, washing a few small items, feeling them after they dry, and in the process, developing several concepts. Because vocabulary is nothing without concepts. Gradually, Sakshi started developing a lot of new relationships. And here you see Sakshi with another teacher, and she's very happy to be able to interact with her teacher. And we gradually see her circle of communication and communication partners expanding. Dr. Barbara McClatchy always said that the quality of our life depends on the quality of our relationships. The more the number of good relationships we have, the richer the quality of our life. And Sakshi realized it soon enough, and gradually she also started making a lot of new friends, as she realized that it was much more fun to interact not just with the adults, but also with children of her age. Nandini ma'am mentioned thinking about children as being agents of change. And I would say Sakshi was a true agent of change, because being inspired by her progress, a lot of children from the village enrolled their children in the community center. And in the process, all these children benefited to develop early communication skills, not just from the teacher, but also from the other children at the center. Looking at Sakshi and her journey of developing early communication skills, there was only one thing I could think of that all the things she developed resonated with, and that is the quality of life. She learned to be happy. She developed rich relationships, not just within the family, but within the community. She developed a great sense of self-esteem as she received a lot of positive feedback, not just from the family, but from her friends and other teachers as well. And of course, the more she interacted with people, the greater access she had to information. I would like to end with a quote from Helen Keller, who said, "Once I knew only darkness and stillness. My life was without past or future. But a little word from the fingers of another fell into my hand that clutched at emptiness, and my heart leaped to the rapture of living." And to me, this is the essence of what early communication development means for each and every child, no matter what the disability. Thank you.